speak to our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert. Hello to you too, Doug. Blinken left Israel empty-handed. Yeah. Will this round of talks in Jordan prove anything for him?
Well, publicly, we're not hearing that they're bearing fruit at this time. But you know that most diplomacy happens, behind the scenes, and often we only hear about the successes that are chalked up after the fact. But look, Blinken is on a mission right now that really we have to see through a split screen. On the one hand, there's what Blinken is pressing for, right? The official U.S. policy here, and that is the policy of still unstinting support for Israel. The U.S. essentially saying to Israel, we have your back, yet at the same time, and this has been growing in volume, the stance that the civilian population of Gaza must be protected. And he wants, as you said, humanitarian pauses. Falls short of a ceasefire, which would be perhaps longer than just a pause. A pause would be able to get aid in to the population in Gaza. It would also be able perhaps to buy some time to secure the release of hostages. Blinken's the thrust of his message, and he's meeting throughout the regions, you said, Jordanian, Egyptian, Saudi, Emirati, Palestinian, Qatari officials, all of the foreign ministers of this region. His message is, you help us, we will help you to get that aid in, to get the pauses in place. But like you said, he basically got slapped in the face by Netanyahu, not literally, but figuratively speaking, because Netanyahu says there will be no pauses, ceasefires, or anything else, really, at least at this moment in time, until those hostages are released. He's sticking to that hard line. And I say that you have to see this through two optics, is because regardless of what Blinken and Biden see that mission right now as in the Middle East on this tour, the reality is that most of the world only sees one thing when they look at U.S. policy at that moment. They don't hear the part with Blinken calling for humanitarian pauses, trying to get that the aid into the Gazan civilian population, trying to work to secure the release of hostages. Most of what a large majority of people looking on see is they remember Biden's embrace of Netanyahu very early on after this conflict, U.S. saying we have your back, and Blinken reiterating that message. They're seeing it much more. They're accentuating the side where the U.S. has Israel's back, is behind Israel, giving Israel carte blanche to do whatever Israel thinks it has to do. And they're minimizing perhaps the side of the message that the U.S. would like to emphasize more, which is that humanitarian side, that we are also cognizant of the fact that there should be limits on Israel's bombardments, and especially in the name of protecting civilians.
Meanwhile, back in the U.S., it's campaign season. Is Joe Biden under pressure ahead of next November's election?
Tremendous pressure from all sides. Look, he just over, in the past couple of days, there has been a Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, who is the only Palestinian American in the Congress. She's a representative Democrat from the state of Michigan, and she released a video in which she essentially said that that Joe Biden's policies right now are tantamount to genocide against Palestinians. Now, you can imagine in the echo chamber of this conflict right now, of this war, them is fighting words. And it underscores just how critically there's sort of a leading edge within the Democratic Party of progressive Democrats, how much they are divided from the much more centrist stance taken by Biden, i.e. the we stand by you, Israel, we have your back, Israel stance. So the Democratic Party is split, but even beyond the politicians in Washington and the Democratic Party, we have been seeing violent threats against Jewish students on U.S. college campuses. We had a coalition of 30 student groups at Harvard University basically saying as much as saying that Israel is entirely responsible for what has happened, for the origins of this latest conflict. We have, at the same time, a lot of the same universities under pressure from rich donors who are calling on those universities to craft a statement in support of Israel, forcing the universities into an untenable position because do they go against freedom of speech? Do they try to silence their own students? And we've also had huge pro-Palestinian protests across the United States, all suggesting, as Rashida Tlaib said, suggesting that the American people are not with you on this one, Joe Biden. Whether she's right or wrong, what we do know is it's an extremely volatile debate in the U.S. Joe Biden facing a lot of divisions on the home front, even as he faces a very skeptical international community when it comes to U.S. policy.
All right, Doug, thank you very much. Douglas Herbert, our international